Welcome to episode 66 of the Archery Geek Outdoors podcast. For this episode, I travelled 90 miles down to Bedford to record with the three guys I mentioned in episode 65, Ian Cope, Andy Williams and Carl Bowles. I will warn you now, the lighting's a little low because Ian's gone for mood lighting in his room and didn't realise I'd need to take additional lighting. But guys, we had an absolute blast recording. So buckle your seatbelts. Here we go and enjoy episode 66. Guys, welcome to episode 66. Although with the three I got here, it should be episode 666. We have the three devils. If you think it looks a bit dark, it is. We're in Cope's porn studio. As you can see, we're on two casting couches. If it goes wrong, you'll see me and Mr. Bowles here sat on their laps. Right, I'm down in Bedford today. We brought the podcast mobile. I am with Ian Cope. Stick your hand up. He's a man with the yellow end. Andy Williams with the orange tip, and Carl Bowles with the blue tip.
Because it's cold. That's why it's small.
Blue tips rather than blue tits. Episode 65. I've actually got together all three. I said I wanted to sit and talk to Carl about his veins. Do you turn your Snickers bar upside down so you can feel the veins on your tongue?
That's why his tip's blue.
Andy has been through an awful lot with his shoulder. Wrote some really good articles for the Field Archer magazine, the EFA magazine, about shoulder injuries, rehabilitation and recovery. His recovery went so well, he's not shooting anymore. And Mr. Cope over in the corner, I wanted to talk to him about his practice regime and mental game, because I think it's 3 years ago I'd never heard of your name, and then you started appearing on the results sheets, and very quickly you were not just appearing on the results sheets, you were top 5, top 3, and then it's like number 1, Ian Cope, Ian Cope, Ian Cope, Ian Cope.
And until a couple of weeks ago, thank you, Carl, it's been a good year.
Andy said he was having a good year, and then it was, thank you, Lee, for the tap on the shoulder.
Yeah. Bastard. So I didn't mean that, Lee.
Mate, you are going to have to lift your mic up a bit, Andy. I know you're not comfortable with things that close to your mouth, but...
Can't see Ian's head either, but that's probably a bonus.
Right, start with you. Now, I'm not going to say... I'll say what job you used to do. You were a Royal Marine.
Royal Marines, and then I think nearly everybody knows. Now, I've been a police officer for the last 20 years, specialising on firearms for 10 years of that. Now deal with gang members.
Right, now, so you've got a history of shooting, but what I wanted to talk about, I noticed at the Dots last weekend, I was shooting with, on Saturday, the guy that ended up first, the guy that ended up third. Nerves. When I'm shooting with shooters who are a lot better than me, mate, I was shaking like a shitting dog for the first 5 targets. Reggie said he just thought it was the way I shot, having an epileptic seizure. Did you find your work helped with controlling mental stress?
The stress doesn't go away with competitions, I've found. I mean, I've shot now 22 competitions this year. It's still as bad as now for the first few shots until you settle in, and it will always go well until that first bad shot. So get it out the way early. But
Liberty shot one day too.
Yeah, it does help. I think it's more breathing exercises that get me through it. I shoot on a strict breathing routine. That helps me with my nerves more than anything.
So I think part of what I do is I just don't shoot enough. How often do you shoot?
4 or 5 times a week. Normally in the garden a couple of times a week. Then I normally get to Avalon a couple of times a week. 1 day indoors a week at TAC, which is the archery company with Tony Wesson's place. Sometimes 2 times a week there. But mostly I don't find shooting indoors really helps me for the 3D game. I'm a big believer that you've got to shoot what you want to compete in. And as I proved to myself this week, it's unknown distance is where I want to sit, because as soon as I know the distance, I don't shoot them as well.
Yeah, that really shocked me when we were talking on Sunday at the Dots, and you said, I hate knowing the distance, it makes it harder to shoot.
I think I get lazy. When I know the distance, I think subconsciously I get lazy on it. When I don't know the distance, see, we shot at Harlequin, was it the 15th?
Yep.
Where it was...
whenever it was,
shoot Lee Gardecki organised the Dots warm-up, which was...
It was a really good shoot. It was half marked, half unmarked. Well, every shot had an unmarked peg and then a marked peg. And I cleaned every single unmarked and dropped points on all the marks.
Screwed up the marks, yeah.
Well, you'd have to bring it close to your mouth, mate.
I could hear me.
Look, remember Tori Amos, got to bring it close to my lips. Got to be big.
Well, no, I couldn't tell you why. It's like I say, cleaned the unmarked, lost points on the marked.
I always had the same problem. Always shot the unmarked better than marked for dots and bow hunters. Don't know why.
Must be a concentration thing then.
I was going to say, I'm
No idea.
when I looked at my scores over the last 3 years, there's not a big difference between them, and I can't judge yardage for shit. I really can't. But I'm thinking, you've got an excuse when it's unknown yardage. So do you work harder?
I work hard at distance judging.
Yeah.
I worked out some ways that I distance judge with a lot of research from, Levi Morgan, quite a bit from MFJJ on the Podium Archer.
I love his stuff.
It's great stuff. And then just getting out and looking, for example, I keep a notebook religiously on it, and I know myself if I've got a dark target in a dark setting, I'm going to think it's 10% further away than it is. So I'll always deduct 10% from what I think it is for a dark target.
Yeah.
It's the difference between me and Copey at the minute, for sure. Like, your distance judging is way better than mine at the minute, and that is the thing that makes the difference. When we're so tight normally on the scores, like, we've been within 1 or 2 spots, like, sort of regularly over a weekend. But your distance judging at the minute, it's another level, mate.
But I work hard at it, and it's whenever we go away for the weekend, and you'll see the pictures on social media, I'll always take a rangefinder monocle. And what I found helps is not looking at an object or something and saying, right, how far away is that? Is looking at it, range it, and then working out why it's that far away.
I don't know, something you posted on social media or something, I heard you saying somebody that's kind of back to front to the way that everybody else does it. Yeah, everybody else will try and judge it and then confirm their distance judgment. So
I think, though, that if you're doing that, if you say, okay, that's 55 yards, and then you convince yourself it is, and then you range it and you say, okay, it's 62 yards, that 55 yards is still stuck in your head. And there's a reason you think that's 55 yards. So I found it a lot better to range it and then say, okay, so that is 55 yards. Where is my 20 yard? Where is my 30 yard? Where's my halfway point?
Yep.
So worked out a system which I think Carl Nell does as well. So when I walk up to a peg, I will purposefully not look at the target. I'll be looking at my feet. Then I'll look at the target and look away and have a number jump in my head straight away. So I'll take that number and put that aside. So say 35 yards. I'll then try and pick a halfway point, work out a distance to the halfway point, double that, and put that number aside. So say they'll get 32 yards.
Yeah.
I'll then try and work out a known distance to me. So I'll try and work out where my 20 yards is, and then say, okay, that's my 20 yards. If I'm stood there, where is the target from there? And say that comes back as 33 yards. I've then got...
Mate, you keep letting that get away from your mouth.
I'm not used to having it this close to my mouth.
Not for that long. Not
for this long. So then I'll have 35 yards, 32
Let me
yards.
guess.
And I'll take the average.
If Carl was an engine, it'd be a 2-stroke.
Wow.
It doesn't take very long.
The thing is, that's why his hand was down there, you see.
And you realise when yours is down there, nobody can hear a word you're saying.
He's lucky he's holding it still. He's normally like a monkey putting on a lipstick.
For those listening to the audio, those strange noises was Carl rubbing the microphone around his facial hair.
See the abuse I get. Because he loves me, really.
I think everyone would agree you deserve it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, what's your go-to distance for gauging? Is it like 10, 20, 30, and you measure things in blocks of 10, 20, 30?
I tend to do things in 20 yards.
Yeah.
Because I'd prefer to be able to do it in 30.
Yeah.
But just from whenever we get to shoot indoors, it's 20 yards.
Yeah.
Mostly the first practice peg we'll go to is 20 yards, so that's just more ingrained in my head than 30 yards.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to shoot a lot in the garden at home, I've got 20 yards in the garden. So I knew what 20 yards was. I can't remember the last time I shot in the garden at home. So that 20 yards is kind of drifting anywhere between 15 yards and 25 yards now.
To be honest, I think shooting in the BU category for such a long time helped. Because with that, when you can't dial into a distance, you get used to saying, okay, that's more than 40 yards because there's my 20. It's more than double that, but it's less than 50 yards. So you get used to, right, okay, I'll put my 40 pin there, my 50 pin there. And I think that translates quite over well on the mental side for shooting single pin.
Now, strangely you saying that, Davey G said that to me because I went from 5 pins to a single pin. And Davey said that he found it easier shooting 5 because if you're not sure, you just bracket with 2. And you've got a gauge of how far your 20 and your 30 yard pin is apart. When you're at full draw with a single pin, you've got no idea how far that pin would have to move to get to 30.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think, though, that it's when you're shooting 5 pin, at least I do, your expectations are lower. When you got the single pin and you can dial it in, your expectations are higher. And like I say, you mean you've got all the advantages, but I do tend to think if I can't come down on a solid number, I will say, okay, more than 35, less than 40, let's set on 37 and a half.
Just sit in the middle
and sit in the middle. But one of the things that Carl and I, when we shoot together, we've really worked hard on is working out where is working on course management.
Yeah,
where the 24, the visible 24, isn't always the best shot to take.
Yeah.
If you think I could take a 16 here, maybe aiming at the edge of that 24 and possibly taking a 24, possibly taking a 20, it's damn sight better than taking a 16.
especially with those African targets where they've got the 24 right low.
Yeah.
And if you drop an inch or so low, you're in a 16 or a miss. So you're better off sort of playing the course management game and shooting high, airing on the side of high, so you could drop into the 24 or at worst go high into a 20.
Yeah.
Instead of taking a 16 or a miss.
But on the same thing, we spent ages standing at 20 yards and then saying, okay, I'm going to set my sight for 21. Where does my shot fall? I'm going to set it for 22. Where does my shot fall? I'm going to set it for standing at 40 yards. So I'm going to set it for 39. See where my shot falls. And we worked out individually where all these happen, so that because we found it a lot easier that, say, Carl shoots and he's just above the 24 and I can see his knock. It's easier to hold on his knock than shoot. So as long as I know the distance, if I say, for example, at 40 yards, I know that 1 yard difference is pretty much an inch.
Yeah.
So I can say, okay, I think this is 40 yards. I'm going to aim at Carl's knock and I'm going to shoot it for 38 yards and no, I'm going to fall 2 inches short.
Yeah.
And it hasn't let me down yet.
Yeah, your pin always drifts to it anyway, doesn't it? Because, it's like if you say, okay, well, I can see that knock, but I'm going to aim an inch below, more often than not, you're going to drift straight onto that knock and shoot straight at it.
Your head's just thinking, there's the pin.
Exactly, and it goes to that centre every time.
It will. Every time you're focusing on your release, then your pin's going to go back to that knock.
Exactly. So if you can do that and just aim at it and take an inch off to know that you're going to drop into the 24, then great.
Yeah, so keep aiming at that, but adjust your sight to hit where you want.
Exactly.
Paige Pierce does something similar, I think, doesn't she? Sets her sight so when she's shooting paper, she shoots at 6 o'clock on the gold, but she's got it so when her pin's on 6 o'clock on the gold, she's hitting the X,
Lollipop in it.
lollipopping.
I think I can speak for this
Mate,
group in particular.
I'm sorry, just Paige Pearson lollipoping.
I think I can speak for this group in particular when we don't know what Paige Pierce shoots. We're not looking at the target end.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some words being said somewhere. Yeah.
I know. I was going to say you three were all members of Team Armageddon. I say were. Of course, you got the Flanders Armageddon murderer there.
Harsh.
Did it help having that group of people to push each other and help each other?
No.
And when it came to competition, would you have slit each other's throats for the win?
The thing is, I'm like with that with Kobe anyway. The thing is, like, he for the first couple of years that we shot together.
Hang on, folks. Point the end at your mouth.
That's the end.
Ooh.
Is that
Ooh.
nice?
That's very nice.
Okay,
So I do my
I think we
sultry
should
voice.
leave.
Anyway,
I think I'm going to have to sit and cross my legs now.
as I was saying, he always outshot me for the first sort of couple of
Kobe's
years.
thrusting his hips forward.
Oh yeah,
Andy's
zip undone
looking on
already.
in amazement at Kobe's crotch.
Couldn't see anything.
Oh. Do you want to get the magnifying glass down?
I'm just staying out of this one.
First time for everything.
This lot never normally ends well for me. So
Where were we?
don't know. Completely lost my
Kobe.
train of thought now. No,
Yeah,
that's it.
I do that every time I press the record button, mate. It's nothing new.
Yeah, as I was saying, he always used to outshoot me, like, you know, first couple of years at least, and all it did is it pushed me bloody harder. I was like,
Yeah.
right, I'm catching you. That's it. Like, I just had to work harder and harder to catch up, and then it got to the point where, I mean, last year it was one then the other, then one then the other, wasn't it? Like for
Oh,
a
yeah, you
long,
couldn't
long
make it up.
time.
I was going to,
Like, literally.
You two just seem to be flip-flopping
Yeah.
first and second every competition.
Exactly. And so it got to that stage, and then you took a step ahead with your distance judging, and that
Yeah.
made the big difference.
I went 17 for 17 this year, and then you picked me at cloth of gold.
Yeah, but you did have a bit of a dodgy shoulder at the time, so
Not until the Bobcat target, I didn't.
true.
But I dropped
Yeah.
what?
So
I dropped
you-
4 points.
Yeah, you were.
Nah, I had a good day that day.
You were pulling a shaft out of a hairy pussy, weren't you?
And he didn't lube it first, so
It doesn't normally throw my shoulder out though.
yeah, but it was mine you were pulling out.
I can never
I
look
think
at that
Andy's about
Bobcat
to,
again.
Andy's about to crawl behind the sofa and hide.
I'm very hungover, and I'm feeling a little sick. Weirdly, though, that story is exactly the same as me and David Lovell. We would always shoot
He's
together.
another member of Team Armageddon, isn't he?
And we used to flip flop. I'd win one, then he'd win one. I'd win one, then he'd win one. And then when I figured out my distance judging got better, that's when I moved ahead of him. I'm sure he'd beat me now because I can't shoot. But yeah, it's just weird having somebody at your level to shoot with does move you on.
Yeah.
Really does. Yeah, shoot with better people or people that push you,
Yeah.
and it really does bring your game on, because otherwise you just get complacent.
You do.
I mean, I was fascinated. This is really embarrassing. I can't remember who the fourth one was in my group on the Saturday. There was Zach Ball, Ridgie, who ended up coming third. Me.
No, Reggie came second. I took third. He just
Yes.
Yeah. Credit where it was
Mate,
due.
what-
He shot
Oh,
fantastically.
mate.
Yeah, he did.
And he hadn't shot
He hasn't shot for years.
He hadn't shot a bow in God knows how long. He's been shooting air rifle,
FT,
hasn't he?
yeah. He's
It's
been
that-
shooting FT.
It's that Matthews title. It brings the best out of you,
Yeah.
Oh,
even if he has
here's one
got a
for you
silly
then.
colour.
I'm not going to say. I got told how much you've spent on archery equipment, and
Oh, you don't want to know.
mate, I seriously,
No,
I,
no. What,
I
that's that,
nearly.
Sarah's going to listen to this.
No. It was Sarah that told me.
Oh, God.
yeah,
Sarah
double
told
that.
me at the
Yeah,
docks
double
last
double
year.
that.
Right.
Yeah, we
How
inventory.
much of it is equipment, and how much of it is the work you put in? I'm just thinking of. I don't know if any of you guys watch Stephen Hans from Archery Supplies on YouTube.
Yeah.
The number of titles that have been won in Australia with low-end bows, with stingers and stinger, that kind of stuff. And he says it's all down to the practice.
Nothing beats time beyond the riser.
Yeah.
The bow
Agreed.
is great. The title for me is, I would put it, I know Carl disagrees, but I would put it a good 10% better than the TRX.
No, that's the figure I was
it
looking at,
holds-
5 to 10%.
Yeah, it holds rock solid for me. It's a bitch of a draw cycle compared to it. I mean, I bought the title and I bought the lift at the same time, and the lift has an easier draw cycle.
That shocked me.
It did. The lift, it's a bitch to get the string moving, but when it's moving, it's smooth as you like.
Yeah.
The title,
It's the other way
it
around.
moves off from nothing, and then it always pulls me to a halt about a half inch off the valley, and I have to pull it over that straight.
That sounds almost like Hoyt's Turbo Cam. I tried a Spider Turbo. I think I'm just coming into the valley, and then it's up again and drops. But
And there's not much of a valley either, the way
So-
we've got them set.
does that make you work harder on the shot? I mean, I keep going on about my Kuma. That's a psychopath of a draw cycle with a valley that's about the same size as a Nat Dick. If you relax slightly, it's off. Does it make you work harder, or is it just a steadier hold and a more forgiving bow?
I don't think it makes that much difference, simply because it's the hard back wall we're pulling against.
Yeah.
So this is what I said. I mean, a lot of people criticise me for the poundage I pull, but we train hard in the gym and we're training all the time, and that draw weight is nothing to get back there.
Yeah.
But I'm pulling as hard against that back wall, whether I'm shooting a 50-pound bow or I'm shooting a 74-pound bow.
Yeah.
And this is where the shoulder injury starts showing up for me. So pulling hard against the back wall is what stabilises my pin.
Yes.
Just the way I shoot. And as soon as I've got this pinched nerve in my neck and I can't pull as hard against that back wall, my pin's now floating like crazy. So I'm really having to accept that, just let it float and pull through.
No, you saying that, it's only the last few weeks I had a bit of an epiphany. I've always worked on keeping this front shoulder down. It's only the last few weeks, and it created problems for me at first. I'd never suck that back shoulder down like I did the front. And it'd be 3-4 weeks ago, I dropped it down for the first time, and fuck me, does it make a difference?
It does. If I can get all the way back, pull hard against the wall but lock my elbow,
Yeah.
and then squeeze my shoulder blades together to get the hinge to break, I'll have a great shot.
Yeah.
But under pressure, sometimes I don't think about squeezing my shoulder blades together. It's just cheating that release off, especially if my shoulder's hurting.
Yeah, so for the first couple of weeks, I'd lock it back, and I'm not used to being that hard against that back wall. And it kind of freaked me out. I felt like I was either going to snap the string, snap the D-loop, or bust the riser. And I'd have my finger on the trigger ready for the shot, starting to squeeze and think, this don't feel right. Start to let down. Hand would go up and over the top of the target. And it's taken some weeks to get used to that. And then I wondered why things weren't feeling right at the dot. And it was only second half of day 2 I realised I was slouching in my shot. So although I'm trying to get back, rather than being upright, I couldn't get that last little bit. So I've never felt that back wall as hard. And
Snigger.
Too many jokes.
And that was snigger, he said, by the way, folks.
With an S.
That's what a public school education does to you.
Every time he sees hot buttered crumpet, he drops his trousers and bends over. That's why your nickname's Toast Rack.
I don't. Why are you picking on me all of a sudden?
It was him a minute ago.
I know. I'll take my turn.
We
Him
just
liking the
sharing
veins
the
on
love.
his tongue.
Sorry?
Sharing
Yeah,
the love.
absolutely.
Sharing's caring. So, what's paper faces, shooting dots? How much of that did you do? Because the general consensus, I'd only ever shot 3D. Even when I joined EFA, I'd only shot 3D. And the consensus that came to me was, if you want to improve, shoot paper. Just for the consistency, if nothing else.
I did that last year, and my scores weren't as good. This year, I always said from the start of this year, I'm going to focus on 3D. So the only EFA shoots I've shot have been the 3Ds. So I shot the unmarked and then the dots.
Yeah.
I honestly believe if that's what you want to get good at, that's what you've got to shoot.
Yeah.
I shoot the EFA course at either Black Eagle or Avalon only really to check sight marks. That's pretty much it. I said to Carl this year, I said I don't enjoy spots. I enjoy the 3Ds.
Nobody enjoys spots.
I am. But
I'm gonna
Not
book
when
the
you've shot
thread there.
3D.
I've only ever done 2 EFA paper face rounds, so both field rounds. Score improved on the second one over the first, but I found it quite addictive trying to beat myself. And what I like about that is every 3D course you go to is different, isn't it? Particularly with NFAS, there are no, this group of target is between that distance, this one's between that. We've all been to courses where they've been brilliantly laid and seen courses where they've stuck a stoat at 80 yards thinking that's a good shot.
no, I completely agree. I mean, the good thing about the spots, whoever you shoot it for, I mean, I don't think anyone, I know I'm not a member of AGB and I don't think Carl is.
No.
I just cancelled mine.
Is that, yeah, you can grade yourself, you can see your improvements.
Yeah.
Because the thing about the 3Ds, especially the unmarked 3Ds at least, I can go round either clean, which has happened a very, very small amount of times,
Yeah.
or I can go round being 20, 30 points down and still not knowing how I'm done, because I've got to get in and see how the other good shooters that I know out there,
Yeah.
what they come in at. Because I can be out there thinking, I have shot shit today. And then everyone else comes in and they've had the same experience.
It's like you
You
say,
can't
every
gauge
course is
yourself.
different.
Yeah,
There's no way you
that
can
amazed
gauge.
me at Briar Rose. I mean, I was horrified with my score, and turns out I came second. And Rob said to me, he said, "Why are people's scores low?" And this was across the board, all classes, male, female, young, old. And I said, because you lay a really challenging course. It wasn't stretched, nothing stretched, everything really achievable,
A good example was
but really technically challenging.
a good example was the Welsh Nationals this year.
Oh, yeah.
So was it Blade, the second one we did?
Yep.
So the Delta Balls the first day, it was just dark. When we got back in, I was setting my sight marks with Carl with his torch on my sight, so I
Bloody
could actually
hell.
see the sight
Yeah.
mark.
It was so
that
dark in
challenging.
there in general. It
And
wasn't just
then-
because it was late.
And then Blade, we came in and we saw the marshals about 2/3 of the way around, and we said, I know you don't often hear this from Unlimited, but I'm ready for a nice little 6-yard shot now.
Yeah.
And I found it really difficult, and I'm watching the points drop and drop and drop from that where I want it.
Yeah.
And I knew there were some other damn good shooters there. I mean, Tom Stanworth was there, Carl was there.
We're going to have to move you slightly towards
Yeah, yeah,
Andy.
yeah.
You're drifting out of shot.
Yeah, it's not accidental.
Snuggle up.
And
Don't be a stranger.
and I was as surprised as anyone when I came in and I won that, because my points were low to what I was spending. But it's just,
Yeah.
it was a bloody hard course. And it was a bloody hard
The previous year it was hard as well. It was so much harder than the
Hard to
NFS
judge
nationals.
long shots or...
and some targets we'd never seen before. So like a
Stormtrooper.
really long, stretched out sort of, was it at first the shot where you left your bow behind?
Oh, that weird sort
like
of
a leopard or jaguar
yeah, sort
thing,
of,
yeah.
yeah.
Just put that at your mouth. It's all right. When the mic's there and you're facing that way,
Oh, yeah.
it don't work.
All right.
Yeah, there was some really, really good new targets.
Yeah.
And some
The
long
werewolf and
targets.
stuff.
The werewolf.
Yeah,
that's
that was good.
Stormtrooper.
I had a look at the Wild Creek werewolf.
Yeah.
I had a
Good
look at that
target.
in Merlin. That looks stunning. The only thing that
It's
disappoints
amazing.
me about that is the cost of that target. It hasn't got a replaceable insert.
Didn't even notice that, to be
No.
honest. But yeah.
I'm
They-
thinking
they
if
use
you're
a-
spending $2,500-3,000 on a target, you want to be able to replace that fucking insert.
Oh,
Too right.
some of those Wild Creek targets though are fantastic. I
They're-
mean, when Company of 60,
Detail are amazing.
They are.
yeah, Company of 60 put their shoot on, I think they sort of showcased them at their 50 target shoot, the one and done shoot last year. And it might as well have been renamed the target preservation shoot, because it was really stretched out. And that you could tell they didn't want you blowing the centre out of those targets. But those Wild Creek targets are fantastic.
I
Yeah.
do love how they look. Like I say, the only criticism I've got of the ones I've seen is lack of replaceable cores. If you're, I mean, they are Reinhardt money, aren't they? Near enough Reinhardt money. But when you spunk in $4,000 on a Reinhardt target, you know you can go out and drop 300 quid in a replaceable insert. So you haven't got to write a target off. Or unless you're a talented sculptor, I think to get a really good repair on those Reinhardts would be on the Wild Creek to be difficult because they're so detailed. They are gorgeous to look at.
Yeah.
Oh, they're fantastic.
They're beautiful targets.
But everywhere I know that's got them, they never put them in easy places to hit. You can tell they're trying to preserve them. And to be honest, I would too. They're expensive and you can't replace them. So
yeah, you look at them and you think, that's just too nice to shoot, that is.
Yeah.
Right, we've got to... How long have we been yakking for? Bloody hell, half an hour. Better move on to the one and only Mr. Williams.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, why not?
It's a depressing subject, that's all. Not being able to shoot.
Yeah, I had it for 6-7 weeks at the start of the year, and I was the most miserable twat ever.
Yeah.
Because... So, what happened with you? I mean, how long have I known you now? 3 years?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
3 years. And you had you got the start of it then or not?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've had this since lockdown.
Yeah.
I over-practiced in the garden and I heard a snap and just ignored it. Carried on going.
Oh, there was an actual...
Yeah.
I didn't realise that. I thought it was... Didn't know whether it was just wear or tear and awkward movement. I didn't know you'd actually had...
Yeah. So I stopped shooting for a couple of weeks and that seemed to go away and I was fine. I was back to it. And then slowly... that had obviously caused some sort of problem and I got bone spur, which was then rubbing on the rotator cuff. And now pretty much all the muscles in my rotator cuff have now got damage. I've got a 3 centimetre hole in my bicep tendon.
A 3 centimetre hole?
Yeah. And my shoulder is partially dislocated.
Just randomly pops out?
No, it's always out. It won't go back in.
My God.
Yeah. So the surgeon, I've got to see him again next week, but he's 90% sure I'll never be able to shoot a bow again, even after they repair it.
So there was no need for you to trip by your front door and break his foot then, was there?
I mean...
I still
belt and braces.
Yeah.
Simon kicked you out that door.
Yeah, just for those who don't know, as I walked out of his front door about, when was it? February, wasn't it? I forgot that they were having their driveway done and there was a big drop and I stepped out, thought that's where the floor is, and it wasn't. It was another foot down.
If anyone would like to see the footage, drop a DM on his YouTube and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, they've got a ring camera footage.
My first reaction when he posted it was, well, you know you're getting good when Kopi sabotages you to take you out of the field.
But, what was frustrating is that last year I was actually beginning to get better.
Yeah.
And it felt like my archery was getting... Oh, harsh. I'd gone through a lot of... I was average at best before lockdown.
Yeah.
And then during lockdown, I practiced so much, and I was getting better. I was getting closer to the scores that I wanted.
I noticed that when I saw score sheets. Your scores were... It was like,
I mean, when I
first saw Kopi's name, and it was starting to creep up, and then Carl appeared, and your name was kind of moving up and up.
I'm not in these two guys' class, but I mean, whereas 2 years ago I would be I'd be happy with an 840 on an NFAS course.
Yeah.
I was getting to the point where 900 was more my average. Yeah. Occasionally putting in 910, 920 occasionally. But yeah, as I said, but then as the pain increased, the last shoot I shot well was Cloth of Gold.
Somebody that close to his mouth, will you?
Cloth of Gold last year, where I beat you by one spot.
I think you did, didn't you?
I did. So I came second to this man, which was very pleasing. But that day I was in so much pain. Yeah. Every time I was at full draw, I could tell I was actually had a perfect stance because it was killing me.
You got your Aurora
actually,
Master
I remember seeing that.
I do have an Aurora Master Archer, which
I remember seeing that result and thinking, fucking hell, what the hell's Andy been doing?
I was in pain, and that because I knew the pain meant I was in the right position. everything just
Mate,
worked.
if you want to pick a up again, I'm sure they still be happy to put you in pain every time you're at full draw.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, not in the ways that would help though.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've got a training bow at home that I've just been trying to pull, but I can't even hold 12, 13 pounds at full draw anymore. The shoulder just won't do it. Which is a shame. I mean, I can still draw up a 60, I'll probably even draw up a 70 pound bow, but it is just holding it.
It's actually when you're back at full draw.
Yeah.
Jesus. I had that. For most people, it's the draw that gets them, not the holding.
Well, no, I mean, I draw with your back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see a lot of people who don't draw with their back, and they're only asking for trouble.
Oh,
down
the
line.
classic where they draw down like that and then we go.
Yeah.
Kick him, wing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sooner or later, that's just going to rip something.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I mean, I've been having physio for years to try and fix it. It was just too badly damaged. And I carried on shooting. And now, I mean, I get asked so many questions about, oh, I've got this, what should I do? The first answer is stop bloody shooting. Your body's telling you that there's something wrong, but they don't. I mean, I think of 4 or 5 names off the top of my head, nameless, obviously, but they've carried on shooting. They've dropped their weight, they've dropped the weight, they've dropped the weight. Just stop. Stop. Do exercises that will help it. Because archery isn't help. It does not help. It's not a natural process.
It's you're using muscles you don't use for pretty much anything else in modern life. Maybe we may have used them when we were cavemen, but now we don't. I know. I watched a Cam Haynes video. He got, was it Mark Bell, world champion powerlifter, on there. Cam gave him an 80-pound bow, and Cam actually had to grab his arm and pull it back. You know, when a world champion powerlifter can't move it, you're thinking. That brings in just how we can say it's muscles modern life just doesn't use.
No, it is, and it just it takes practice and time. But if you're injured, you're injured.
Yeah,
and nobody would expect an injured footballer to take to the field or a sprinter to run 100 metres. But for some reason, and all of us archers think that we can continue to shoot.
Because we love doing what we do. And
it is, but
modern life...
Case in point, I did it for 3 years, and now I may never do it again.
Stressy jobs, you need a release. And
yeah.
To be honest, I should probably have taken a longer break than I did, but I've found that I know if this bow arm's creeping up, because when this creeps up, I can feel tension through the brachialis muscles.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No. So it's suck that shoulder back down and dump it in my arse pocket.
Yeah. I think there's a lack of decent training for archery in this country.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, nobody ever taught me to shoot bow. I learnt it watching Dave Stone, who was the first person I knew who shot compound, and then watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do learn a lot off your mates.
Yeah, you do.
Do you think some of it is to do with this injury is because when you're not shooting, you feel fine? Like your arm's fine, everything feels fine. And then you go back and you pick up your bow and you carry on. And it's only doing that action that hurts it.
Yeah, it was more for me that I could shoot pain-free and then I would suffer the next 2 days. And then by the time the weekend came, it meant I couldn't do any practice, and my scores were then starting to drop off. And it was like, and then when I started having to shoot in pain, that's when I realised I've got to get this sorted.
Yeah.
So, well fingers crossed. See what the surgeon says, but mostly I just miss being out with this lot. It's not the shooting that I miss because I've taken up air rifles now, which is. I mean, it's unmarked and it's still fun, but not the same group of people.
It's the nicest thing you've ever said.
I'd like to say we miss you too, mate, but nah, we do, mate. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I was genuinely hoping you were going to rock up to the... I know you couldn't have shot the dots, just...
I was going to be there. I was going to come up and marshal.
Yeah.
But there was an HFT competition that weekend, so I went to that.
So he said, fuck you lot, I'm going to play with my gun.
Yeah.
It is quite an impressive gun, though.
It is a very nice weapon. I've had lots of compliments.
I was just no.
Just no.
Certainly no complaints.
Apart from the back seat of a Ranger.
Yeah.
So how did you end up writing the articles for Field Archer magazine? Because you did, was it 2 or 3 really good articles?
Yeah, Carol Smith, who's the editor, asked if I wouldn't mind doing one on injuries and how to prevent them. I'm not a good case study for how to prevent them.
What's she asking you how to prevent them? You're the one that can't shoot yourself.
Well, the thing is, I've spent so much of the last 3 years with physiotherapists and doctors, and you pick up stuff.
You did go to crossbow for quite a long time, though.
I did try crossbow, but it's not fun. It is not fun. I don't know why, but it isn't as fun.
I'll tell you what was
I
funny,
just enjoy shooting anything.
No.
Well,
I know what was funny.
Was Pines Park when I was at full draw and you were on the target behind me and there was a massive crack and I've shouted out, what the fuck was that? And somebody just says, oh, that's Andy dry firing.
Yeah.
I've never had to let down through laughing so hard.
Thank God for the anti-dry fire device.
But you'd put that on 8 hours before that shoot.
I had. And that is the only time I've dry fired anything. How did you manage to
dry fire with an anti-dry fire device?
It basically catches the string about an inch away from the trigger.
But it sounds like a rifle.
It does. It's a loud noise.
I was shooting Seven Valley, and me and Chris were shooting with a couple from Windrush. Lovely couple, had a brilliant day with them. But Ian dry fired his crossbow that day. He was only shooting, one of those Jandao chase winds. Mate, it took the dry fire, no problem, and just carried on shooting the rest of the day. I was so impressed with that thing.
I'm not sure I'd want to carry on shooting a crossbow after it dry fired. No way.
Didn't it blow your lens out?
No. It all it did is I thread locked all of my bolts in, but it loosened all of those.
He certainly never shot his bolt.
Yeah. I couldn't work out. It made a noise like it had shot, obviously louder, and I was still looking down range to see where my bolt had gone.
Did I miss that one?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And then when I realised what I'd done, there was a little seepage.
Ooh, Matt, I know that from when I dry fired the Kuma. It was like I'm still looking for the arrow. Then I didn't realise I'd dry fired.
It is scary.
I thought I'd had a knock blow up because I was convinced I'd knocked an arrow, and it's only when I looked in my quiver and I got all my arrows in my quiver. Shit, that's not good. So I did that on the first target of Paget, and all I heard come from the practice field was, "Ooh, that sounds expensive."
That's all I heard as well.
As he's picking cams out of the nearest tree.
But yeah, it was lucky I'd put the anti-dry fire device on it.
Oh God,
very lucky.
With that beard chuckling like that and going red, he looks like a fucking gnome.
I just remember.
Somebody give him a pointy hat and a fishing rod, please.
I just remember how loud it was just as I hit full draw.
It was scary.
Yeah, when Ian's went, it was like a 2-2 centre fire going off.
I could see him at full draw, and I thought, "Fuck, that's just dry fire."
It's worth it.
I haven't tested it yet.
Oh dear me. So, you say you don't think you'll ever shoot a bow again?
No, it's not looking that way at the moment. But we'll see. I mean, as I said to Ian yesterday, I've been on Merlin's website looking at getting like just another training sort of 16-pound bow or something, and just see how that goes. Just something cheap. I mean, I might not ever get back to shooting compound again, but there's no reason why I can't possibly shoot a 20, 25-pound bow, and you can use that. They're fine for an FAS.
I mean, it's not that many clubs now that stick out stupid long targets.
It doesn't matter because I've got gorilla arms.
What's your draw length?
31 1/4.
Same as Zach's, but you're about 2 inches taller than Zach.
No, I think he's taller than me now. I'm getting shorter as I get older, and he's getting taller because he's still young. But yes, so yeah, I've got the same draw length as Zach, and that does give you some extra power.
Oh yeah, it gives you.
So I mean, even a 16-pound bow at my draw length is going to be probably 24, 25 pound anyway.
Yeah.
But Yeah. It's a bit depressing to talk about that. But.
I mean,
Keep talking about it.
See, the episodes you got, so the editions of the magazine you got your articles in.
Yeah.
We also had, was it Dave Holland who's opening that course?
Yes.
The course in the Peak District.
Yeah.
He had his articles in about that. Carol had really gone to town with the magazine and got some really, really good articles.
She's doing that well.
It made really interesting reading, because
Thank you very much.
It's all volunteers that do these magazines, and it's really hard to get good articles in. And all of a sudden, it seems like the Field Archery magazine went from like any other magazine to up here with really good, informative articles.
Yeah, I mean, it feels more like the Archery GB magazine, which is obviously heavily funded, so they can. But yeah, it's definitely better. I mean, if you get people to write articles, and I don't mind doing any more, I can write.
Yeah,
but it doesn't feel right now that I'm not shooting, and I probably won't join EFA next year. I might maintain my NFS membership just in case.
Maintain EFA so you can at least come and wander around the course and talk to people.
Maybe. But the hardest thing is I've really enjoyed being a Merlin sponsored archer.
Yeah.
And that's going away. The group of people is amazing. So I can't do that anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
I'm sad. I need a
Those Merlin colours quite suited you, actually. They matched your eyes.
I thought so.
You look very pretty, mate.
I actually got some decent photos of you and Dave Greenwood in your Merlin gear, didn't I?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
Challenging wank, that sounds like.
Come on, with that complexion, not at all, sir.
Sorry, Dave.
It wasn't that challenging.
No.
There's only cold, not admitting it was easy.
Low
Was he going
standards.
red?
It's warm
I
in
have to
here.
put up with Ian most of the time, so come on.
Do you stroke his beard while you're tossing yourself off?
Only on special occasions. If I'm feeling particularly caring.
Could do with some conditioner.
Just where he dribbled his beer through it, that's all. Beer shampoo. Right, let's move on to Mr. Bowles.
Yeah, if you must.
We must. It was Liberty. I never knew you produced your own veins, and you told me about it, didn't you, at Liberty? This Saturday night we were sat talking down at your camp.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, we had a chat about this. How long ago was it you started? It was a long time, but we had a chat, and
Yeah.
what you produced was fantastic.
Cheers, mate.
Used them myself.
So, I mean, when you told me about them, I said, like Zinger veins, and you said, Carl's been doing his way before Zinger started producing theirs. How long have you been doing them?
I want to say, because I was shooting them when I was shooting my bear bow, and I've been doing compound now for 3 years.
As opposed to shooting you bow bear.
Indeed, which I do regularly
does
still. Yeah. It's my own back garden. What are they going to do?
Somebody get the register out, please.
Probably 4 or 5 years, maybe. I've sent a fair few sets over to the States. They seem to quite like them over there. I think because they're quite tough, they like them for the hunting and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've sent 3 sets over there recently, and I've had repeat customers and stuff, so I'm really pleased with that.
I remember the conversation that got you going with them, though. We were looking at veins that we'd fletched, and we take a lot of time over fletching the veins.
Yeah, it has to be bang on or not at all.
And never sure, is that exactly 3 degrees? Is that exactly 2 degrees?
Yeah, and have we put them exactly at the right, the right
I think
angles?
that's what started it, though, because you said,
let me see
we
what I
could
can do.
3D print this, and we can get those angles exactly
Yeah.
right. And they were so good.
Yeah. Yeah, for those that don't know, the reason for that is because I print them as a single unit. They're basically 3 veins or 4 veins, whichever you like, attached to a central tube. So basically they're push fit veins.
Bit like a cock.
Indeed. Very veiny.
Can I go now?
Eddie, you said, can I come now?
But no, you'll stay where you are.
And like it.
If not, I'll get Sarah to come and be very, very strict with you in the best teacher's voice. Oh, he's moved the cloth. What's he going to do now?
Well, for those that are on the video, I suppose I've got a couple here that I can show you.
You're going to have to get very, very, very close.
Very close.
Hang on a
There you
moment.
go.
Right.
You can do that. There you go.
I'm going to have a try not to
There's a
pull this
slightly
lot
bigger one for you.
off. Oh,
Some of us need the bigger one.
And
well
that one,
stretched.
'cause- there we go. Just a couple of different.
Hang on a minute. I'm just dropping these. Right, somebody's going to have to keep an eye on the screen and tell me if they're appearing on the camera.
Just about. Not really in focus, but you know.
No,
you
it
get
won't
the
help.
idea.
The lighter. Cope's got mood lighting to get us all in the mood.
It's working.
So
yeah.
why, when? So what you've been doing these about 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, think so.
Why was the first time I heard about these was at Liberty? Why have I not heard about them before?
Probably because I just sort of.
Why they're the best kept secret in archery?
Well, thank you. It's just something that I initially did for me and Ian, really. Like it was something I was like, oh, I'll give this a go and see how it goes, see what they work like, see if they're usable, see how long they last, all that sort of stuff. And you were wanting specific designs, specific shapes of the veins and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I can do that, mate. Let's give it a go. And it's just sort of gone on from there. I've been shooting them for quite a long time now, and I find them really consistent. They're really tough. I've had them on Becker's bow and, shooting trad. They've been buried in the ground for literally like a year and they've come back.
Becca's going to kill you.
She'd be the first to admit that, she often gets arrows back a year later. But, you sort of get them and sort of, all the pins all corroded and the piles corroded and all the rest of it. And the veins come out and they're still absolutely fine. And I've been really surprised at how well they've lasted. They're mega tough as well. The amount of times I shoot them straight through 3Ds or through bosses and stuff, they seem to work really well. And the best bit, of course, is they're dead quick to fletch because you just effectively screw them onto the shaft.
Yeah.
No one. Wow, I was expecting something.
I think we've done all the jokes.
I think we have. Yeah,
I was just fascinated looking at YouTube.
The night is young.
Yes. But yeah, they're every single set of veins it's done to a tolerance where they only just push fit or screw onto the end of the shaft.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Do they glue on or are they a friction fit?
They are a friction fit. Now, with my VXTs, because they're a particularly slippy coating on there, what I tend to do, just to be sure...
Right, hang on a minute. What are VXTs?
He's going to explode. He's going to explode.
I only know cheap, crappy arrows.
He's trying.
I only know cheap
I'm
shafts.
slippy and shafty.
So slippy. Because the end of my shaft's so slippy. Victory VXTs.
Yeah.
Basically, they're the sort of 23 diameter shafts that I've been shooting recently.
Yeah.
No, they're not. VTAX.
Well, okay, yeah.
VTAX.
VTAX.
VXT.
Thank
Hang on,
you.
I'm
Yes.
just wondering why his hands
You
moving
are
closer
absolutely
and closer
right.
to Andy.
Yeah. Those other Victory things that start with V's, yes. VTAX, exactly. And because they were particularly slippy, I put literally one dot of super glue at the end, just to mold them in place. But yeah, they are a friction fit. So every single make and model of shaft, of course, is different.
Yeah.
But also each spine within that particular model is different as well, with your outer diameter, inner diameter, the same, of course. Outer diameter is different. So I look up exactly what that outer diameter is on the manufacturer's website, and every single set is fit specifically.
What kind of weight are these?
So for your standard sort of 2 1/4 inch 3-vein set, I suppose, 29.5 grain.
Right, now those AA have got two new veins out this year, haven't they? The Air Razor, and I can't think what the other one is. I was watching somebody reviewing them on YouTube, and one of those, they're 9 grains per vein. So by the time you take 3 of those and a wrap, you've got this.
Yeah. I mean, of course, they're always going to be slightly heavier because
Yeah.
of that central tube.
Yes.
But that's something I've been working on a lot recently as well, and I've made
You've been
that
working
thinner.
on your central tube.
I have indeed, yes. You know, to make it grip the shaft a little better, and just make it as thin as I can possibly get it as well. Yeah, just to save that weight at the back end.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean they're coming out really nicely at the moment, and for some reason as well, I don't know why, but they're one of the most silent veins I've ever shot.
That's because they're so stiff.
Maybe, yeah.
I've found this. Yeah,
Oh, for God's sake,
It's
lad.
just so loaded.
oh yes. When I was using X3 veins, I mean, you shoot tack veins as well, don't you?
Yeah, to be honest, the only reason I'm not shooting Carl's veins is because for a while I've been shooting off of a blade.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure whether the tiny little lip at the front of these, so
Yeah,
the
I
tiny
can
little
say
lip at the
that's-
front would catch
Yeah.
it. And I don't think it would, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or it'd catch it the same every time,
Yeah.
but I've never tried it with a fixed blade either.
But with a drop away rest, I mean, to be honest, we shot them off barebow with a button.
Yeah,
And
and I always had
There was no
good
dramas
results
with that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about the noise. 'Cause I mean, tack veins are really stiff. Boning's X3 veins are really stiff.
I only really shoot the tack veins because they sliced Dave Lovell's fingers open. And it was hilarious.
Mate, fair, I think like the X3s, it's like having a broadhead on the back of your arrow.
Yeah, it
Really is.
I've cut my hand pulling those out.
To be honest, I use those because they're durable enough, and when you do get a pass through, they cut the veins into the target so you
Yeah.
can see which you're.
Yeah, I mean, I started off when I was building my own arrows using blazers, and I've got photos on Instagram where I've shot into a 3D, and the blazers are actually wrapped right round the shaft. Then I went to X veins, then I discovered the X3s, which are really stiff, and they did the same. There's very little deflection off them as I go into a 3D target. I mean, I helical mine, so there's going to be a spin, so you're going to get a bit of a wrap, but they just tend to slice. Then I went to the bully veins, which are, again, boning. They're a blazer vein made out of X-ray or heat vein material. A little bit noisy, of course, they're the higher profile. But, yeah, the stiffer the vein it seems to be, the quieter it is.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for his response to that, stiff veins and silence.
I need more beer.
You let me down there. You let me down.
I think the precision probably helps a little bit with this because, again, they're programmatically created. You know, they're exactly the same helical and exactly the same angle for each one.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps a little bit just to slice through the air a bit. I don't know.
I mean, what were the ones that we had a look at where the front of one vein is essentially in line with the rear of the next vein when it was the maximum helical that you could actually get that would have any effect?
That was
I think you only looked at them on the program. You didn't print them, but
But yeah, it's possible. I mean, we can put anything on there. Like I say, it's just a case of changing the parameters.
Like an 8 degree helical, I think it worked out.
And it'd be fine.
That-
Yeah.
You watch the MFJJ videos, don't you? When the Dan Staten L-shape was on there, and they used the 2.6 inch A hybrids with a max helical jig.
The Mini Max.
Yeah, and they were like that. There was no, when you look down the shaft, there was no gap between the back of the one and the front of the other.
Well, that's the maximum effective helical
Yeah.
you can get, because once it goes past that, I mean, what you
But
achieve.
you're slowing things down. That's it.
Yeah. How much testing have you done with veins? Because I've got wondering, helical versus profile. If you have a low profile with a heavy helical, that's going to spin the arrow faster. Will it create as much drag as a high profile with less helical?
There's a good video online that was done with Ranch Fairy and
Oh, Daryl,
and
Dr. Rocket.
They use the Lab Radar Chrono, which will tell you every 10 yards down range. And
That's something I've got to
they
watch.
found that when they were checking for speed, terminal speed, initial speed, mid-range speed, and accuracy, I think they fell in that 3% is about
3
optimal,
degrees. Yeah.
because you don't get the parachuting effect, and you still.
Isn't a NASA engineer made some veins lately for somebody?
It's the NASA engineer that works with Ranch Fairy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's I remember
Daryl.
watching. Yeah.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that video, but they weren't doing different profiles with the same helical. I want to get hold of a lab radar. I need a lab radar.
Yeah, me too. I have plans.
Simon's got one.
Yep.
Mate, they've come back down in price. I mean, when I first looked at them, they were 600 odd quid. Well, fuck me, that's just a last chance fletching jig with all the extras, isn't it?
There's a second-hand one on airgun forums that I'm on at the moment. I think it's
to
about
be
400
honest,
quid.
one of those with that precision cut archery software.
Yeah.
Great
I
one,
mean,
mate.
that software
Yeah.
is fantastic. They're the best sight tapes, and the first software I've been able to use where I can put in, I'll set the sight tape for 40, 70 and 90 yards, and I'll put it in, and the down to 2 yards, it gives me the right
It's your low numbers,
Like
isn't it? Yeah,
calculations,
because the low
and
yardages
not
work.
bang
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Much
I thought
closer.
it was only his T levels that were low numbers.
Those two.
Wow.
No, 'cause it's something I want to try. The same amount of helical, but with different profiles, just to see the effect. And then, say, a straight-fletched high profile with a hard helical low profile, see what difference it makes. It's just random shit that goes through my head at times.
So when do you want me to make you a bunch then, mate? No problems.
The man who can.
I was just going to say it gets expensive, and over to you, Carl, as you fleece him for everything he's got.
Absolutely.
No, I'm just thinking of playing with bullies and X3s. I do want to get one of those, the max helical jigs from AA, though, just to have a play with. But nobody does them in this country. I think I've seen one shop in London doing them, and they got London weighting on the price plus a bit extra. So I think what I might do is actually message Anthony, say I've Saluda River got one, grab it. Of course, when I was after the leather strap for my release, so I could make it a strap on.
God.
to be honest, not to plug everybody on the internet, but Podium Archer as his website, they swear by him. He's got them on the website.
Yeah, just thinking, when I wanted that strap, nobody got one because it was in lockdown, and Anthony managed to find me one in Michigan. And I mean, I've ordered from this country before, enough different places in this country, and it's 7 to 10 days. I'd got it in less than a week when he ordered it from Michigan, had it shipped to South Carolina, then from South Carolina over here. I'm thinking, well, if we can get that from Michigan via 2 stops, why can't shops over here get me something in quicker time?
We use Andy Express. We wait for him to take his next holiday. He's taking him off the shopping list.
I didn't do very well for you this time.
Yeah, of course, you were out in the States earlier this year, weren't you?
Yeah.
How was it?
Wonderful. It really was. Needed the break. It was good to get away from everything.
There were some lovely photos.
Yeah, well, we did. We drove from Seattle down to Vegas via Boise and Salt Lake City, and it was lovely. It really, really, really loved it. Going to do another road trip next year, I think.
That's one of the things that's on my bucket list.
Yeah,
But either straight up the West Coast or East Coast to West Coast, and stop just shy of California, I think.
yeah. We've already done West Coast.
Yeah.
So I think next time we'll probably fly into Washington DC and drive to Vegas from there, because we've always got to end in Vegas.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a fan of cities. I think the only two cities I'd like to see in the States are Miami and Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas isn't really a city. It's one street.
Thing.
You don't care about the city. It's just the debauchery, right?
It is. It is.
And we're back to the midget hookers again.
Yeah, I mean, whatever floats your boat.
I really want to do small town America. That's what appeals to me, I think.
Yeah, me too.
South of the Mason-Dixon line.
I was well surprised with Boise. Absolutely loved that.
Idaho.
That city, yeah. Absolutely wonderful.
Idaho's supposed to be amazing.
It is. It's a beautiful state. I didn't get to see much of Utah, unfortunately, because they had bushfires and basically everything was smoky. It just smelled like one of Ian's barbecues.
Wonder what you were going to say then.
That's it. Take the piss out of the bloke who's cooking for you.
I know. That's
What you
why
mean when-
it was a nice smell.
Yes, when that goes up, he's going to have his own bushfire, isn't he?
Yeah.
How long have we been going? Just over an hour. I think you're going to have guests rocking up shortly, aren't you? What time are you on?
I'm surprised they're not here drinking me dry at the
They
moment.
probably are. They're all in there listening to this going, hell are
Taking
they
the
talking
piss.
about?
Yep, we knew it. Kopi really is gay.
Nah,
I'm not
trust me.
gay. I'm not gay, but 20 quid's 20 quid.
If they
There was
were real,
5 of them.
we wouldn't have been left alone.
Guys, all I can say is thank you so much for letting me bring this down. Thank you for sitting in front of that thing. You know what? I found it a lot easier. I've taken no notice of that, having you guys to sit here and talk to. Of course, recording solo, you are so aware of that. And next time you're going to have to get your porn film lights out, so we better lit.
It's been a pleasure having you down, mate.
It is.
And keep going with this podcast because we get a lot out of it.
Really do, mate. It's great.
Mate,
Thank you for having us
I'm
on.
just a middle-aged fat fucker that's got no particular skills.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm the first one to stand up and admit it.
You've seen the other people in the room with you.
When this comes out, there'll be a space there and there'll be no Carl.
You know what? I think we should take photos of their cars, photos of them, put them next to each other, and who's got the littlest dick?
You don't need cars for that. We can just we're doing it on camera now.
Probably be happening later.
Yeah.
The way these things usually go.
www.onlyfans.com.
Pay us not to.
I think even Kopi's getting uncomfortable now.
It's onlyfans.com/bollocks and barbecues.
We've got to fund this game somehow.
Right, all I can say is thank you so much. Right, I'll drop, if you've no objections, I'll drop links to all your social medias in the show notes. Are these for production? Can people get in touch and purchase them?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. I do have my website, kboarchery.com. I do a bit on Instagram and stuff now and again.
I'm
as
just
well.
really disappointed that I've only just found out you've got a website.
Yep.
What kind of fucking friends are these? They're not shouting
Friends,
it out.
acquaintances.
We have no interest in making him richer than he already is.
It doesn't sponsor us or anything.
Well, there's a reason I don't sponsor you,
Well, yeah.
and he just gets all his shit for free. So, but yes, absolutely, mate. They are for sale. If somebody wants to give them a go, I am more than happy to make you a set.
Right. Cabo.com.
Cabo Archery.
Cabo Archery. I'm saying Cabo.com. It sounds like a dodgy rapper, doesn't it? And they're top quality rappers. Right, folks, thank you so much for listening. Gentlemen, it has been an absolute fucking pleasure. We need to do another one at some point with 4 of us drunk, and I've got a feeling that could end up on OnlyFans.
I'm not sure the world is ready for all 4 of us drunk.
Give it about 2 hours and we'll see where we are.
Mate, the
Look
one
for
I
our
did
late
at-
night podcast later.
the one I did at Alex's when we were all, I mean, that night recording at Alex's, fucking hell, you could hear me going through. I was slurring my words so badly by the end of the night, you'd sworn I'd had a fucking stroke. In fact, I might have if Cody hadn't knocked my hand away. Right, folks, check. It's up there, and it's not even going to see me. Check out the links in the show notes. You know where to find me. Anything to say, feel free. If it's unpleasant, fuck you anyway. You can say it anyway. Take care. Shoot straight. Bye-bye.